All right, so today we are taking a look at the end of 5.33, any of the lines that we didn't quite get to in class on Thursday. On Thursday, we ended, I believe that's at line 12 with constituent, um, and we are hearing about the attack of Ambiorix's Gallic troops on Sabinus and Cotta after they've left from the Roman camp and they get stuck in that valley. Ambiorix's troops are split up on either side, blocking both their return to the camp and their progression out of the valley, so they're kind of getting squeezed. And this last sentence that we translated in class, if we start at userunt right there, on I believe that's line 11, they ordered, and they, the subject here, are your legates, Sabinus and Cotta. So Sabinus and Cotta, or they, ordered Eos. Notice you have to supply the Eos there. So they ordered them to announce that, ut, and we didn't quite talk about this clause, so we'll come back to it in a sec. They ordered them to announce that they should leave behind their impediments, or they should leave behind their baggage, and they should set themselves up, or they should stand around in a circle. So one of the biggest issues about this battle is that the Romans are weighed down by all of the stuff that they're trying to carry away from the winter camp. So now Sabinus and Cotta say, okay, drop everything that you have and let's actually get ready to fight. Everybody get in formation in this circle. If we take a look at what type of clause we have here, we have an ut clause. There is no small word, so it's not result. Then the verb that it's coming off of is pronuntiare, right? They ordered them to announce that. Pronuntiare, if it is not a head verb, it's purpose clause. If it is a head verb, it's an indirect command. And in this case, to announce is a head verb. It's a verb of speaking. So this is an indirect command. All right. So the legates have ordered the soldiers to get into formation and to drop all of the excess stuff. Etsy. Here we go. Although this plan, quod concilium, quod in this case, it literally means which plan, although which plan, but because it's not referring back to anything, just translate it as if it were hoc. Although this plan, now go to your verb. Notice, reprehendendum non est. That's quite a word, reprehendendum. If you take a look at that form, we have, that's a gerundive, right? See that nd right in there? Oops, not like that. Let's try that again. There we go. If we got a gerund plus a form of to be, or gerundive in this case plus a form of to be, this is a passive periphrastic. So make sure you translate it like a passive periphrastic. All right. Although this plan must not be criticized in danger, kasu, or in misfortune, or in an emergency, eos modi, of this kind. So although this plan must not be criticized in an emergency of this sort, however, it happened incommode, it happened inconveniently. So this whole plan of like dropping their baggage and getting into formation, it's not a bad plan, says Caesar, especially in this type of misfortune and emergency. You can't criticize this plan, but it happened badly. It happened inconveniently. 4. Both, notice we've got these correlative ets. So for it both, the hope, let's see. Oh, that's terrible schema. Let's try that again. Although for it both minuit lessened the hope of our soldiers and it made the enemies, hostes, more eager to fight, or it made the enemies more eager for a battle. So this message gets passed along to the soldiers saying, all right, everybody, drop your stuff. It's time to get into battle formation. And that makes our soldiers think, oh, great. Now we have to fight. Now we don't have much hope. There's no way of getting out of this. And that makes the enemies go, yes, here we go. So this plan isn't a bad plan, but it happened poorly. All right. Quote, because, ooh, went too far. Because id videbatur, it was seen. Now remember, videbatur, if we're translating it normally, it's an imperfect passive, so you would translate it as was seen. But anytime you have video in the passive, you can translate it as to seem with an M. In this case, that will make much more sense. It usually does. So, because this thing seemed to have been done, factum esse is a perfect passive infinitive. Because this seemed to have been done, non sine sumo timore, not without the greatest fear and desperation. You can take that non up with the prep phrase, or you can take the non with the verb. If you take the non with the verb, this sentence would say, because this thing seemed not to have been done, or this thing did not seem to have been done without great fear and desperation. Notice that the litotes there, we've got your non making the verb negative, and you've got sine meaning without. So you have two negatives, which is expressing this thing that, you know, this whole plan of getting them into formation and dropping their stuff was done actually with the greatest fear and desperation. But Caesar says it as it was not done without the greatest fear and desperation. Litotes is always an emphatic de-emphasis, if that makes sense. All right, Praeterea. Hold on. There we go. In addition, it happened, quod fieri necesse erat, that which was necessary to be, or in addition, that which was necessary to become happened, that which was necessary, that the soldiers will go as a crowd or all as one, or almost roughly, so that the soldiers as a crowd left from the standards. And as we well know, those standards, remember, I drew this at one point. It's like a post that has the eagle on top of it. We saw this in book 1, where the guy on the, or sorry, book 4, where the guy on the ship arriving to England had the standards, and he jumped off the ship and said, "Come on, folks." Occasionally, it'll have a banner on it that says SPQR, though that's not necessary, and that's a beautiful picture. All right, so the standards were used primarily as a marker to keep the men in formation in a battle. They were used for many other things as well, but in battle, it was very easy to see the standards because they were really tall and really long, so you can stick that post up in the air so as to keep the men in formation. So when Caesar says that this thing was necessary to happen, that the soldiers as a whole crowd left from their standards, so they're not in formation, even though Sabinus and Cotta gave this order, like, "Hey, everybody, get in formation." They're not. They're running around. They left from their standards. And he says this thing was necessary to happen. It's kind of an odd thing to say because Roman soldiers do not like to go out of their formation, right? They're known for their very intricate battle formations and never turning their backs and always staying in line. So he says that this thing was necessary to happen mainly due to the nature of the events. They were in a really tough spot and they were unprepared. So it was necessary that the soldiers would not do well in this battle. And now you have to go all the way to your first main verb, which is properaret. And they hastened to look for and to pick up, to look for and to seize those things which, right, quae carissima, those things which were most dear, those things which each one held as most dear. So they hurried to find and to seize those things which each of them had as most dear from their impediments or from their luggage. So instead of dropping their luggage and getting into formation, as Sabinus and Cotta ordered, the soldiers leave from their standards and then go start trying to find the things that they care about that are in their bags. If they have any, I don't know, heirlooms or anything that is most dear to them that they happen to have with them in their luggage, that's what they go rummaging for. They're certainly not getting ready to fight. They're trying to save any of their dear belongings. And omnia, everything was filled with shouting and with crying. This does not paint the Romans in a particularly good light. They are disregarding orders. They're not staying in their formations with their standards. They are shouting and crying when faced with battle. And instead of standing to fight, they're going to find their dear goods to try to save these items. This is not generally what a strong Roman legion would do. which looks pretty good for the Gauls at this point in time. All right, we are doing 5.34 and 5.35 for Monday. Email me if you have any questions on that section we just did.